The cold cell. The ship was quiet. Only the soft hum of the engine broke the silence as Leo walked down the dark corridor. He was a repair tech, just a human, working on a cargo freighter named the Mistral. Most days were boring. Today was supposed to be the same. But today, he heard something. A sound. Soft. Faint. Almost like a whimper. Leo stopped. The sound came from the lower storage bay, an area no one used anymore. He turned on his wrist light and walked slowly down the stairs. "Hello?" he said quietly. No answer. He followed the sound to a small metal door. The keypad was broken, the panel sparking. It wasn't supposed to be locked. Leo pulled it open and cold air rushed out. Inside was a small, dark room. And in the corner, someone was there. He stepped closer. A girl. An alien girl. She was crouched on the floor, her arms wrapped around her knees. Her skin was a light shade of blue, almost glowing in the dark. Her white hair fell over her face. She wore only a thin, torn cloth around her shoulders. She was shivering. Leo's heart dropped. She looked up. Her eyes were large, bright gold, and full of fear. She didn't speak. She didn't move. She just watched him. Leo took a step back. He looked around. This wasn't a prison cell. It was a storage room, cold, dark, forgotten. "What is she doing here?" he whispered. He opened his bag and pulled out the emergency blanket he always carried. It was small, metallic, and warm when activated. "I won't hurt you," he said softly. He knelt and placed the blanket near her feet. The girl didn't move. "Here," he said, opening it and slowly wrapping it around her shoulders. "You're freezing." Her body tensed, then slowly relaxed. She didn't say anything, but her breathing slowed. Her eyes softened. Then something strange happened. Her skin glowed, faintly, gently, as if it was reacting to the blanket. A soft light spread over her arms and face. She looked down at the fabric, then back up at Leo. And then she whispered a single word. "Dahareen." Leo blinked. "What?" She closed her eyes and said it again. "Dahareen." He didn't understand. Was it her name? Was it a word from her language? He wasn't sure. But her eyes were no longer afraid. They were curious now. Almost grateful. Leo stood slowly. He pulled out a protein bar from his pack and set it beside her. "I'll come back," he said gently. "You're not alone anymore." He walked out, but his mind was racing. Why was she here? Who put her in that room, and what was Dahareen? Later that night, Leo asked the ship's AI a question. "Any records of a blue-skinned girl in storage?" The AI responded coldly. "No life forms listed in that sector." "What about alien passengers?" "None logged." Leo frowned. She wasn't on the ship's records. She wasn't supposed to exist, but she was real. He had seen her, heard her, felt her cold skin under the blanket. Something was very wrong. The next day he returned. She was sitting up now, still wrapped in the blanket. She looked stronger. When she saw him, she stood. Her movements were slow but graceful. She walked to him, stopped just a foot away and gently touched his hand. Images flashed through his mind, just for a second. A burning planet, a broken palace, a great creature of fire and wings roaring into the sky. Then it was gone. Leo stumbled back. "What was that?" She looked at him with wide eyes. "You saw?" Leo stared at her. "What are you?" The girl shook her head. "Not what? Who?" She pointed to herself. "I am Kailari." Her voice was soft, but clear. Leo nodded slowly. Kailari. Not just a prisoner. Not just a girl, something else. something powerful. And it had all started with a blanket. The language of fire. Leo couldn't sleep that night. He sat on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. His hands still felt warm where Kailari had touched him. The images she showed him, they weren't just visions. They felt real. Too real. A burning world. Screaming voices. A creature with wings made of fire. Was it her memory? A dream? A warning? The next morning, Leo went straight back to the lower deck. He brought water, food, and another blanket, this time thicker. When he opened the door, Kailari was awake, sitting cross-legged, her white hair flowing down her back. She looked up and smiled softly. "You came," she said. Leo was surprised. Her voice was stronger now, and her words clearer. "You remember more?" he asked. Kailari nodded. "Language, returning. Words are heavy, but I carry them." Leo sat near her. "Can you tell me what you showed me yesterday?" She looked down. Her hands touched the floor gently. "That was my home," she said. "We called it Shilar. What happened to it?" She closed her eyes. "It was destroyed. My people, gone. Burned by their own guardian." Leo frowned. "Guardian?" She nodded slowly. "It was made to protect us. But it was twisted, controlled. It turned on us." Leo leaned forward. "And you?" Kailari opened her eyes. "I was chosen. I held the key. To stop it." Leo felt a chill. "You were supposed to stop that creature?" She didn't answer. Instead, she touched her chest, right above her heart, and whispered, "It sleeps here." Leo stared at her. "Wait, you mean it's inside you?" Kailari nodded. "I carry its memory, its fire, its power. It cannot live without me, and I cannot live without it." Leo felt his heart race. He had stumbled into something far beyond him. He looked at her gently. "Why were you locked away on this ship?" Kailari looked away. "They feared me. They did not understand me. They wanted to sell me or study me, so they put me in the cold." Leo clenched his fists. "Monsters." Kailari looked at him again. "But you gave warmth. You gave cloth, kindness, no questions." Leo shrugged. "It was just a blanket." "No," she said firmly. "It was respect." Suddenly the lights above them flickered. The ship shook slightly. Kailari's eyes narrowed. "They are coming." "Who?" She stood slowly. Her glow dimmed. Her hands curled into fists. "The ones who seek the fire. They have felt my awakening. They are near." Leo stood up. "We need to move." Kailari nodded. "But I am not ready. The fire is unstable." "I'll protect you," Leo said. She looked into his eyes. "No, I will protect you." As they prepared to leave the cold room, Kailari stopped. She turned to the wall and raised one glowing hand. Alien runes appeared, pulsing in golden light. Leo stepped back. "What are you doing?" Kailari whispered something in her native tongue. Suddenly the room shook, and a soft hum filled the air. From the floor, a round metallic disc rose. It floated gently, covered in strange symbols. "What is that?" Leo asked. Kailari stepped beside him. "A map, a memory path. It will show us where I must go." "Where is that?" She looked at him with glowing eyes. "To the fire's heart." Leo stared at the map as it floated, shifting slowly in the air, and he knew this was just the beginning. They want her back. The ship's hallways were darker than usual. Leo kept looking over his shoulder as he and Kailari walked toward the engine bay. She wore a long hooded cloak now, one he gave her to help hide her glowing skin. But still, something didn't feel right. The lights flickered again. "Are we being watched?" Leo whispered. Kailari didn't answer right away. Then in a low voice she said, "Yes." Back in the control room, the ship's captain stood in front of a communication screen. On the other end was a figure in a black coat, face covered. "We found her," the captain said quietly. "She's alive." The human technician made contact. The figure spoke in a cold, robotic voice. "Good. Lock them in. We're coming to collect what belongs to us." The captain nodded. "For the right price, of course." The screen went black. Leo and Kailari moved quickly through the storage halls. The map she had summoned earlier floated between them, glowing softly with shifting stars and alien symbols. Suddenly, the ship's alarm blared. Red lights flashed. Doors slammed shut. "They're here," Kailari said. Leo turned to run, but the hallway behind them closed with a hiss. From the shadows, 3 armed crew members stepped out, blocking their path. One of them pointed his blaster. "Step away from her, Leo." Leo moved in front of Kailari. "You're not taking her. She doesn't belong to you," another man growled. "She's a weapon, a ticket to riches." "She's a person," Leo shouted. "She has a name." Kailari stepped forward. Her cloak dropped. Her glowing eyes flared brighter than before. "I'm not a thing," she said calmly. The guards hesitated. One man stepped closer. That was a mistake. Kailari raised her hand. In a flash of light, the floor under them glowed with ancient symbols. The blasters in their hands melted, literally. Metal dripped to the floor like wax. One guard screamed and ran. The others fell back, trembling. Kailari's eyes were burning now. Her voice echoed, "I am Kailari of Shilar, last of the flame bearers. I do not belong to anyone." Leo stood frozen. He had never seen this side of her. She turned. To him, her eyes dimming slightly. "We must go, now." They ran through the maintenance ducts using narrow tunnels Leo knew from his years working the ship. The alarm kept ringing. Voices shouted over the intercom. "All crew, seal Section 4. Do not engage the girl directly. They want to trap us," Leo said, breathing hard. Kailari looked calm, but Leo noticed her hands were shaking. "The fire takes energy," she said. "I cannot hold it much longer." Leo reached out, holding her steady. "We're close to the escape shuttles. Just hold on." They reached the docking bay. But standing between them and the shuttles was the captain, surrounded by 4 guards and a strange floating drone with red lights blinking. "You should have stayed out of this, Leo," the captain said coldly. "She's not a girl. She's a weapon." "She's alive," Leo said, "and she's coming with me." The drone floated closer. Target confirmed, activating suppression field. Kailari's glow faded slightly. She dropped to one knee, breathing hard. "They're stopping the fire." Leo looked around. He had no weapons, no backup, just her, and a choice. He stepped forward. He took the drone in his hands and smashed it against the wall. Sparks flew. The suppression field shut down. Kailari gasped and stood. Her glow returned. She raised both hands and whispered something in her ancient tongue. A wall of heat erupted behind her, blocking the guards in light and flame. The captain screamed. "What are you?" Kailari looked over her shoulder. "I am what you feared." Leo grabbed her hand. "Let's go." They ran into the shuttle. The door closed behind them. The engines roared. The Mistral shrank behind them as stars filled the windows. Leo looked at her. She was weak again, trembling, but alive. He smiled. "We made it." Kailari looked at him with soft, glowing eyes. You chose me." He nodded. "Always." Escaping the ship. The small escape shuttle flew silently through deep space. Its lights blinked, its engines hummed. Inside, Leo sat at the pilot's seat, his hands gripping the controls. His heart was still racing. Behind him, Kailari lay on a narrow cot. Her breathing was steady now, but her skin had lost its glow. He kept glancing back at her. "You're okay," he whispered. "Just rest." They had escaped the Mistral, but Leo knew they weren't safe yet. The ship's systems were old and Fuel was limited. Worse, he didn't know where to go. The map Kalari summoned still floated above the console. It showed a line of stars leading to a strange symbol. One Leo didn't recognize. He tapped it. Destination locked, the shuttle's computer said. Coordinates set. Estimated travel time, 17 hours. Leo leaned back. He had time to think. Time to wonder, who was she really? What would happen if they reached that place? Hours later, Kailari woke up. She sat up slowly, her eyes blinking. The glow was faint, but it was there. Leo turned. How do you feel? She gave a tired smile. Like a star with no fire, he chuckled. You scared the hell out of me. She nodded. I felt the fear from them and from you. But yours was different. Leo looked confused. Different how? You were afraid for me, not of me. She stood and walked to the map. This path, she whispered, pointing. It leads to the heart of fire. Leo raised an eyebrow. That sounds safe. Kailari looked serious. It is not. But it is where I was created, where my flame was born, and where it can be restored. You're going to get stronger? She nodded. Stronger, but also unstable. I was made to hold power, not to use it. Leo frowned. But you just did, back on the ship. Yes, she said softly. To save you. Suddenly, the ship jolted. Alarms rang. Warning. Incoming. Vessel detected. Leo's eyes widened. How? We're in deep space. Kailari looked at the screen. A large ship was approaching fast. Black, spiked, and silent. Her voice trembled. Hunters. Leo grabbed the controls. Can we outrun them? No, she said. They track me. They always find me. The hunter ship sent out a signal. A voice came through the speakers. Turn over the girl, and you may live. Leo muted the audio. I'm not giving you to them. Kailari touched his arm. You might have to. He turned sharply. No, never. She took a deep breath. I can shield us if I release part of the fire, just enough. But won't that hurt you? She nodded. Yes, but it's the only way. Leo shook his head. There has to be another option. There isn't, she said softly. This is what I am. He looked at her glowing eyes, her calm voice. She was ready to sacrifice herself again, but he wasn't ready to let her. Wait, he said. You don't have to use all of it. Just aim it. She looked confused. Aim? He pointed. We'll fly close to that asteroid belt. If you can blast just one of the big ones. She smiled slowly. You are clever. He grinned. Sometimes. The plan worked fast. Leo flew the shuttle through the rocks. The hunter ship followed, weapons charging. Kailari stood at the back hatch. She closed her eyes, her hands glowed. Her skin shimmered, and then a beam of fire shot out from her hands. It hit the edge of a spinning asteroid, sending it crashing into the hunter ship's path. Boom! The asteroid exploded. So did the hunter's front hull. The ship spun, sparks, flying. Then it vanished into the darkness. Inside the shuttle, Leo turned, breathless. Kailari had collapsed again. He rushed to her side. Her body was warm. Too warm. Her breathing shallow. Kale. Her eyes fluttered. I'm fine. You're not fine, he said. You burned half your energy. She smiled weakly. But you smiled. Leo held her hand. Yeah, because you're still here. She closed her eyes again. I won't leave. Not until the fire knows peace. The ship flew on. The stars ahead glowed red. They were close now. To her past. To her truth. To the place where the fire began. The memory gate. The shuttle entered the red nebula quietly. It was thick, glowing, and beautiful, but it made sensors useless. Leo had to fly manually. His hand stayed tight on the controls while Kailari sat beside him, weak but awake. This place, she whispered, staring out the window. I feel it. Leo nodded. You're sure this is where we'll find answers? Kailari didn't respond. Her eyes were glowing brighter now. She pointed through the mist. There, she said. That is where the fire was born. They approached a giant structure, floating in space, half temple, half machine. It was built into a hollow asteroid, ancient and silent. Strange symbols glowed faintly on its surface, like whispers frozen in time. The shuttle docked. The airlock hissed open. Leo and Kailari stepped into the ancient hall. The walls were smooth black stone carved with glowing lines. The air felt heavy as if the space itself remembered things. Kailari touched the wall gently. They called this the memory gate, she said softly. It holds the past and the truth. Leo looked around. Whose truth? Ours, she said. Mine. And now, yours. They walked deeper. At the center of the temple stood a platform shaped like a circle. In the middle of it, a sphere hovered, pulsing with light. This is it, Kailari said. The gate will show my real memories. Not the ones taken. Not the ones blocked. Leo stepped forward. And what happens after? Kailari looked at him with glowing eyes. That depends on what we see. She stepped onto the platform. The sphere rose higher. Light flowed from it, wrapping around her like threads of energy. Her body glowed brighter. Her hair lifted in the air. She began to speak. Words in an ancient language. The room trembled, and then the images came. Leo gasped. He saw her as a child, laughing in a grand hall made of crystal and flame. He saw elders placing a crown on her head. He saw her standing before a great beast, made of fire and wings. It bowed to her. He saw war, ships falling, worlds burning, and he saw her screaming, surrounded by people who betrayed her, sealing her away, not to protect her, but to use her later. They were afraid of her power, so they locked it inside her and left her to be found when the galaxy was desperate enough to use her again. Leo stepped back, his heart racing. You're not just special, he whispered. You were royalty. Kailari floated in the air, her voice like a song. I was the flame heir, the one meant to guard the fire, not become it. The visions faded. The light returned to the sphere. Kailari fell gently to her knees. Leo rushed to her side. Kail, she looked up at him, tears in her glowing eyes. I remember everything now, she whispered. Who I was. What I carry. Leo held her close. So what do we do now? Kailari looked at the sphere. We awaken it. Suddenly, the temple walls pulsed. Something deep inside had heard her voice, and it was answering. A voice echoed in the chamber. It was deep, ancient, and alive. Flame air, command restored. Kailari stood, shaking. The ground trembled. In the center of the room, a new path opened, leading downward, glowing with golden light. Leo looked into the darkness. What's down there? Kailari whispered. The core of the fire, and the thing they told me I must never awaken. Leo frowned. Do you still want to go down there? She looked at him. I don't want to, but I have to. Leo took her hand. Then I'll go with you. She smiled. Even now. Especially now. Together they stepped into the light as the path closed behind them. The temple whispered once more. The fire remembers. And now, so did she. When empires learn her name. Deep inside the temple, Leo and Kailari walked slowly. The air was warmer here. The walls glowed with gold and red lines that moved like rivers of light. Symbols flickered around them, ancient words long forgotten. They weren't just inside a building. They were walking inside a memory. At the end of the path stood a great chamber. A throne made of flame and crystal waited in the center. Kailari stopped. Her hand trembled. This was my seat. Before it all burned, Leo looked at her. You remember? She nodded. This is where I said my oath. This is where the fire chose me. Suddenly the air changed, Alarms blared on the shuttle above. Leo tapped his wrist pad. Incoming ships. Multiple. The warning was followed by voices from across the system, alien languages, military codes, emergency alerts. One clear message repeated again and again. Kale Ari of Shilar has awakened. Repeat, flame air is active. Across the galaxy, governments paused. On warships, admirals stood in silence. On distant planets, scholars looked at ancient records. A name that was once myth was now alive again. And no one knew what she would become, a savior or a weapon. Back in the temple, Kaelari stood before the throne, light wrapped around her like fire without heat. Her body floated slightly above the floor. Her eyes blazed gold. Leo stepped back. You okay? She looked down at him. The fire is listening now. I can feel it waking. Suddenly, the chamber began to shake. Above them, the ancient ceiling opened. A beam of light shot into the sky. Thew, signal was clear. She has returned. In space, ships began to move. Not just one empire, not just one army. Everyone was coming, some to kneel, some to destroy. Leo activated the shuttle remotely. It flew toward the temple, dodging warning signals and scanners. We have to move, he said. They'll be here in minutes. Kaelari turned to him. If I leave now, they will follow us. Leo nodded. So what do we do? She stepped closer. I send a message back. She raised her hand and the entire chamber lit up. Her voice echoed into the stars. I am Kaelari, last of Shilar. I hold the fire. I carry the memory. I did not return for war. But if war comes, I will not run. Leo watched her in awe. No fear. No hesitation. Just strength. Moments later, the temple began to shake. Not from her power, but from outside. Missiles were incoming. They're not listening, Leo said. They're going to destroy this place. Kaelari turned. Then we leave. They ran back to the shuttle. Leo jumped into the pilot seat. Kaelari sat beside him. The engines flared. The temple behind them began to collapse as explosions hit the outer rocks. As they broke through the atmosphere, a dozen ships surrounded them. Kaelari looked at Leo. It's time. He nodded. Do it. She placed her glowing hand on the ship's control panel. Every system lit up. A blast of energy pulsed from the shuttle. A golden wave spread out like a shield. Ships around them froze. Weapons went offline. Engines shut down. Kaelari's voice spoke through every channel. Do not chase me, do not test me, I seek peace, but I carry fire. Then the shuttle vanished into light, jumping through a hidden wormhole that only the map could show. In the silence that followed, every captain and soldier knew. The flame air was not a rumor. She was real, and she had chosen a human. Inside, the shuttle, Leo looked over at her. She was quiet, her skin still glowing. You okay? He asked. She nodded. I spoke to worlds, but the only voice that matters was yours. He smiled. And I'm still here. She smiled too. You always are. The blanket that changed the galaxy, the stars outside the shuttle shimmered like diamonds. Leo sat in the pilot seat, watching the map slowly fade. The path was done. The journey was almost over. Kaelari stood near the window, wrapped in silence. Her white silver hair drifted softly as the ship moved through calm space. Her eyes glowed faintly, but not with power, this time with peace. She turned to him. We're close. Leo nodded. Where are we going now? She smiled. Home. Not the place I came from, the place I choose. They landed on a small green moon, quiet and full of life. Forests glowed with blue leaves. The air was warm, soft. Birds, strange and beautiful, flew overhead. There were no cities here, no ships, no soldiers. Just calm. Kaelari stepped out first. Her bare feet touched the grass. She breathed in deeply, her shoulders relaxing. Leo followed, holding his. He looked around. It's peaceful. She nodded. This was a sanctuary once before the wars. Now it can be again. They walked to a small hill. There, under a tall, glowing tree, they sat together. Leo reached into his pack. He pulled out the blanket, the same one he gave her on the first day. It was still a little torn, but warm. He laid it over her shoulders. Kyle Ari looked at it, touched. It gently enclosed her eyes. When you gave me this, she whispered, you didn't ask who I was, you didn't need to. Leo smiled. You were cold. That's all I needed to know. She looked at him. But that moment changed everything. Across the galaxy, the message she sent from the memory gate was still spreading. Her name was now spoken in royal halls, in war rooms, in rebel camps. Some called her a queen, others called her a threat. But none could deny this. She chose a human, and that human didn't use her power. He protected her heart. Kailari placed her hand over the blanket. The fire inside me is strong, she said, but it was this small kindness in that made me believe again. Leo laughed softly. So the galaxy's biggest shift started with old emergency fabric? She grinned. No, it started with you. Time passed, ships searched for her, but they never found this moon. She and Leo built a small home. He taught her Earth languages. She taught him starlight songs. They planted trees that glowed at night. They listened to the wind, and every night before sleep, she wrapped herself in that blanket not because she was cold, but because it reminded her of the moment someone saw her as a person, not a weapon. One day, years later, a small group of children came from a nearby colony. They brought food, books, questions. They wanted to meet the woman of fire and the man, who tamed it with a gift. Kyle Ari welcomed them. She told them stories, not of war, but of hope. And when one little girl asked what made her powerful, Kyle Ari smiled and pointed to the blanket. This, she said, was my beginning. And Leo? He just smiled from the garden, watching the galaxy change, not through battles or orders, but because he gave someone warmth when no one else would. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing in the universe is a blanket offered by a kind human.